If you're looking to make your first real estate investment purchase, make sure it's a multifamily. Hey everyone, it's McKeown back again with another video this week. Today I'm going to be discussing how to purchase a multifamily. And by purchasing a multifamily, I'm not referring just to veterans. I have a whole nother video strictly on using your VA loan, but this is going to be for anyone and everyone out there if you're potentially interested in purchasing a duplex, a triplex, or a quad. So step one when it comes to purchasing a multifamily home would be to make sure that your finances are in check. So just give you guys a quick, brief rundown on that. If you do not know a mortgage broker or a local lender in your area, make sure to find one, reach out to some friends, maybe find a local real estate agent in your market who can get you connected with one and kind of get the ball rolling on the financing side of things. I would say that is the biggest hurdle for most people trying to purchase a multifamily or just purchase a house altogether, is not having their finances in check. So I would say step one, make sure your finances are good to go. So what I'm talking about when I refer to having your finances in check, obviously credit is going to be a huge determining factor. Also, if you are a 1099 employee or if you are someone that gets a substantial amount of income off of commissions, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to obtain financing. The easiest way to obtain financing is with good credit, low debt, and a good W-2 job. Obviously, the ins and outs of your financing can really be determined with, again, a local mortgage broker or a local bank. So once again, make sure your credit is high. Top tier credit is going to be anywhere from 720 or 740 and above. Most people are not going to lend on anything less than 600 or 620. They do lend potentially lower, but you're going to have an astronomical rate. Make sure that your debt is paid off, or a majority of your debt is paid off to where your debt to income ratio is not going to be high. I'll tell you firsthand, a multifamily is definitely going to increase your debt to income ratio. And then last but not least, make sure that you have enough income to cover that debt to income ratio. And when I mention debt to income ratio, it basically applies to, hey, how much revolving debt do you have on a monthly basis, and how much monthly income do you generate from your job? It's going to be completely different from person to person. Obviously, income could be, mediocre for one person with no debt versus someone else could have a substantial amount of income, but also a substantial amount of debt, which all these factors can play a huge role into how much you're going to get pre-approved for. So once your finances are in check, let's say you have a good credit score, you've paid down a good amount of debt, you have a solid W-2 job, your bank or your local mortgage broker should be able to give you a pre-approval for a certain amount. That certain amount is obviously going to vary based on your debt to income ratio. Now, when you do get that amount on a multifamily, for instance, a duplex, a triplex, or a quad, you're going to be able to qualify for more. And the reasoning behind that is because you're able to use some of the income generated from the other units that are rented out to help offset your debt to income ratio. So for instance, someone may qualify for a $250,000 house, but they may qualify for a $325,000 duplex, or a $400,000 triplex, or a $550,000 quadplex, because more units typically are going to mean you're going to generate more income or more rent. Currently in our Dallas-Fort Worth market here in Texas, because of all the appreciation and how much home prices have really increased in the last couple years, unfortunately, there's not a lot of ways that people can go about to purchase a multifamily, and I'll explain that here briefly. So when it comes to the financing side of things, you have a couple different options. You can use your VA loan, which I've done a couple videos on, using 0% down, able to purchase a duplex, quad, or tri. The other option is going to be an FHA, 3.5% down, owner-occupied duplex, triplex, or quad. Now, the caveat right now with that FHA loan is if you do go purchase a quad or if you do go purchase a triplex, it has to be self-sufficient. And to give you guys some insight in terms of what self-sufficiency means, it means that the rent from the entire complex, whether it be a triplex or quad, has to generate enough rent to consider it self-sufficient. If it doesn't, it's honestly not going to be approved. You're not going to be able to get a triplex or a quad. That similar rule is no longer, or really has never been, in effect for a duplex. So in our market in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can purchase a duplex for whatever price you want. The issue with triplexes or quads is our prices have gone up so high that you're not able to use your FHA loan at all. Now, the perk for your VA loan or fellow veterans out there, that is not something that the VA loan has. The VA loan does not require self-sufficiency for a triplex or a quad. So good news for veterans out there, you can really Even in an expensive market, you could purchase a quad, you can purchase a duplex, you can purchase a triplex. Those individuals looking to use their FHA loan and that are not veterans are likely going to only be able to use their FHA loan for a duplex. Now, if you're in a cheaper market, then yes, potentially you could go purchase a triplex or a quad. Now, the last set of financing options that you may have would be a 15% down conventional loan. This 15% down conventional loan is going to save you 10% because a typical investment is going to be 25% down if you're not occupying it. If you are occupying it, instead of 25% down for a duplex, triplex, or quad, you're going to be able to put down 15%. Now, 15%, however, for a first-time home buyer is a substantial down payment. So if you can certainly go the FHA route and maybe refinance down the road, that's definitely the more preferred route because it means less cash up front. But you just have to kind of weigh the odds and weigh where your cash is going to be going. Moving on to step 2 is going to be actually acquiring and looking for that multifamily. As I mentioned in step 1, that's probably going to be the biggest hurdle, making sure your finances are in check, making sure you're pre-approved for an appropriate amount in your market, whatever market you may be in. Also, if you're looking to go FHA, making sure that you're probably going to be stuck looking for only duplexes unless you're in a cheaper market, and then also making sure that you've got connected with a good mortgage broker and likely a good real estate agent that will lead you to step 2. Now, step 2 is going to be finding that multifamily. So as a local real estate agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, in the last 4 years, I personally have purchased 2 duplexes, but I've helped maybe 40 to 50 other people purchase multifamilies locally here too. So I would say I'm a bit of an expert when it comes to purchasing as well as helping other people purchase multifamilies. The biggest thing when it comes to finding a multifamily is really figuring out where you or that person that I'm assisting is going to be comfortable living. Because I'll tell you right now, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you're looking to purchase a multifamily, unless you're looking at maybe downtown Dallas, it's not going to necessarily be in the best area. And this is kind of the conversation I have with people. I kind of lay it out as, you know, A, B, C, and D class neighborhoods. There's going to be plenty of duplexes and plenty of quadplexes in D class neighborhoods. They're going to cash flow great. They're going to give you a great return. Cost less than really anything else out there, maybe even less than a traditional just single family in a rough area. But at the end of the day, this is something you're going to have to live in. So the question that I ask people are, you comfortable living in a D-class neighborhood? Are you comfortable with crime and issues surrounding your investment property and also where you live? Typically the answer is going to be no, right? So that D-class neighborhood oftentimes is thrown out the window. Then on the other side of the spectrum, A-class neighborhoods. I'm not seeing a ton locally in my market, but again, every single market is different. In the Dallas-Fort Worth market, there's not a ton of fourplexes in an A-class neighborhood. Now, a duplex certainly is an option in an A-class neighborhood. But when you're thinking A-class neighborhood, great school districts, great area, low crime, what is that going to correlate to? It's going to usually correlate to high taxes and high property value. With high property value, high taxes, it's going to really be the complete opposite of a D-class neighborhood where you're talking no cash flow, maybe negative cash flow, but that could certainly fit someone's needs if all they're looking to do is help offset a little bit of their mortgage. Where most people are going to lie is somewhere in between a B or a C-class neighborhood. Now, for instance, myself, I purchased a duplex initially in a C-class neighborhood, then moved to a single family, probably in a B-class neighborhood, then back to a quadplex in a C-class neighborhood. So me personally, I could have never lived in a D-class neighborhood, and I didn't have any intention to purchase a multifamily in an A-class neighborhood. So I wound up living a little over 2 years in 2 different multifamilies in a C-class neighborhood. This obviously allowed me to get appreciation over time, cash flow every single month, and now turn those both duplex and quads that I purchased into investment properties for the future. Now, with most people filling in somewhere in that B or C class neighborhood, this is when it's going to come down to having a real estate agent locally to you that is going to be knowledgeable in your specific market. Making sure that, hey, this duplex is indeed in a B class neighborhood, or hey, this duplex or quad is definitely in a C class neighborhood. Drive the area, get some insight from your local real estate agent, and also view the property. And when it comes to viewing a property, there is a lot that's going to be taken into place. So first things first, here in Texas, I will tell you firsthand, foundation. When I'm walking through a property, is the foundation good? Has it been addressed? Has it been fixed? Is it something that is negotiable? The next is going to be all of your CapEx. Even though foundation is still CapEx, we're talking roof, foundation, plumbing, electrical, anything that's going to cost you a substantial amount of money, such as maybe your HVAC that I just replaced in one of my properties that cost me $5,300, and it's a fourplex. So imagine having to replace 4 of those. It's not a enjoyable feat, but at the end of the day, it's got to make sense for you. Now, obviously, CapEx, if it's something that has been addressed, it's likely going to reflect in the price. For instance, if you have a new roof, foundation fixed, all of the HVACs are completely replaced, the plumbing and electrical work has been replaced as well, it's going to come at a pretty price. Now, on the flip side, if there are some issues that need to be taken care of, hopefully it's reflective in the price as well. It comes down back to kind of the situation I just told you about, an A-class to a D-class neighborhood. If you wind up somewhere in that B or C-class range, the same thing can be said with repairs. Like if you're fine with cosmetic repairs and living in a unit and updating as you go, but wanting to make sure that, hey, my roof is fine and my foundation is fine, finding that, similar ground to where you're going to be comfortable, just like, where you may be comfortable living. Or on the flip side, if you're comfortable purchasing something that needs a ton of work, or on the flip side, you're comfortable purchasing only something that's been completely redone, top to bottom, just know that obviously the price is going to reflect based on where you're comfortable at. If you don't have a local real estate agent that you believe can help you try to purchase a multifamily, leave a comment down below and let me know where you're at. I can definitely connect you, or reach out to my personal Instagram or my business Instagram page, which is in the description below. I'll make sure to get you connected. I'm pretty well connected with agents across the country. Once you get connected with a great mortgage broker or bank, as well as a great real estate agent that has some knowledge in purchasing or helping people purchase a multifamily in your market, you're going to start to kind of understand, hey, I want to be, in a B-class neighborhood. Also with a B-class neighborhood, I want a duplex, and only a duplex that's going to be turnkey. Once all that starts to shape up and you have a better idea of, what kind of multifamily you want to seek, that's going to be when the price can really start to be narrowed down a bit. And that hopefully will fall in line with what you're pre-approved for. If not, you've kind of got to reassess and figure out where you want to be. So it finally happened. You found a duplex in a B-class neighborhood that's turnkey within your price point with your local real estate agent, and you have a mortgage broker on your side. What's next? Writing an offer. Obviously, your real estate agent is going to guide you hopefully through the transaction itself, but there are going to be a lot of parts of the transaction that you need to be aware of. For instance, here in Texas, you need to have an earnest money deposit. It's kind of like a security deposit for rent, but it's going to be a security deposit for the purchase of the house. We also have an option period here. An option period is where you get your inspection done, you negotiate repairs, and that's going to be an additional cost as well. And then when it comes to closing time, you're going to bring a final amount down to finish the complete purchase of the multifamily. And this actually takes me to the final step of purchasing your first multifamily home. So when it comes to closing on your first multifamily home, there's going to be a couple different scenarios that could come to play. One instance is you have 2 tenants. Both of them are month to month. Maybe one's on a long-term lease and the other's on a month-to-month lease. You're gonna occupy it though, whether or not you go VA loan, 3.5% down FHA loan, or 15% down conventional loan. And I'll tell you this right now, I get this a ton. If you do not occupy as an occupying borrower, meaning you're purchasing using one of those 3 loan types and you don't occupy it, that is mortgage fraud. You're risking your chance of going to jail. So I'll tell you outright right now, make sure you do occupy that unit if you're purchasing it as an owner-occupied duplex, triplex, or quad. Now, if you're purchasing it as a 25% down conventional loan, as an investment, you don't have to obviously live in it. But the good thing about purchasing an owner-occupied multifamily as your first house is you can truly leverage 100% if you're a veteran. 96.5% if you're just a regular individual using their FHA loan. And if you want to use a conventional loan, you can leverage 85% and owner-occupy a multifamily home. So when it comes to actually occupying the unit, if you've got a vacant unit or if you've got 2 vacant units, you get the nice choice of, hey, I'm occupying the vacant unit, or I get to choose between the 2 vacant units. Or in a quad-plex situation, hopefully not all 4 are vacant because that's going to be a substantial amount of vacancy. But you want to make sure that you can get in there relatively quickly. Obviously, as soon as you get in there, you can help offset the cost of maybe, hey, you were renting before and now you're not technically renting because you're owning, and that money that you're putting towards owning the property is actually going towards your loan versus going towards someone else's loan. The sticky situation is obviously if you have 2 tenants in there and they're on long-term leases, or 2 tenants that are on a month-to-month lease. This is when you become a landlord. I've been a landlord for about 4 years now. It's had some ups and downs. I've unfortunately had to evict one tenant, and recently I've had one particular tenant in a multifamily home that's just given me constant issues day in and day out, but that's part of the job and that's what I've gotten myself into. And fortunately enough, it's been very lucrative to owning multifamily homes and just owning rental properties to begin with because of the appreciation in my market. But if you're gonna be owning a multifamily, just know that you're gonna have to be a tough person. First things first, if it is not vacant, you're gonna have to give them notice, 30 days notice or whatever may be written within the lease, and tell them to vacate, whether it be in 30 days or 60 days. And there is a fine line of being tough, but also understanding it's another human being, it's another family, it's another individual that you're basically taking housing away from them. Now, I've been a landlord that has basically put every single tenant into every single one of my units. I'm kind of at my cap point right now that my next property, I'm probably gonna be hiring property management. So if that's the route that you decide to go, I personally wouldn't suggest it, especially if you're living there. But some people definitely do. You can hire property management even though you're living there, and they can take care of any and all the issues, but it doesn't make a ton of sense unless you're booked day in and day out. I mean, you're essentially living next door. So if there's any issues, you can go across the hall or go across to the other side of the building and handle any issues. But some people just don't want the other tenant or the other side of their duplex or whatever it may be to know that they're actually the owners. Now, obviously there are gonna be a ton of steps in between each and one of these steps. They're gonna be, you know, your more minor steps, but I would love to help anyone out there that's looking to purchase a multifamily. I used my VA loan in the summer of 2017 for a duplex, and I used again my VA loan for the second time in 2019 to purchase a quad-plex. Those are two properties that I'm gonna long-term hold for probably at least another decade or two because they cash flow so great. And the perk here, regardless if you have your VA loan or regardless if you are just an individual trying to take advantage of an FHA duplex, make sure to reach out to me. I'd love to help you. Obviously, if you're local in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, I can help you personally. Or if you're outside my market, I definitely can answer a ton of questions, just not market-specific questions. But I can connect you again with an agent that can absolutely help you. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help. I'm really close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and I've been uploading consistent content for about a year. So I just want to say a huge thank you for all the people that continue to come back and support me and my YouTube channel. So once again, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video. Off to Vegas, baby. Pew!